Welcome to Cerebral Women in Paris Art Talks podcast. I'm Phyllis Hollis, your host. Years ago, after hearing an artist say art will save us, my intellectual curiosity was sparked, and I began a journey to understand exactly how. Through conversations with visual artists and the professionals who support them, I explore how art helps us see our history, our culture, our lives, and the experience of others in ways no other medium can. Capturing these voices is essential. They remind us of the power of art and the importance of noticing life's simple beauty. And now, here in Paris, a city that has long welcomed the daring, the dreamers, and the defiant, I continue these conversations where art breathes, questions, and reminds us that creation itself is an act of liberation. Welcome and enjoy Cerebral Women in Paris. In this episode, I feature Chidy Wayne, a Spanish-Guinean artist working primarily in painting and sculpture. His practice addresses fundamental questions such as identity and inner conflict through a gestural, material-based figuration that incorporates oils, acrylics, textured surfaces, and sculptures in wood, iron, or plaster. Influenced by both the artistic avant-garde and ancestral cultural elements, he revisits the primitive through a contemporary language, building a repertoire of signs with timeless resonance. His work establishes a dialogue between the rational and the instinctive, where matter becomes language and the energy of gesture acquires a spiritual dimension. Each piece confronts the viewer with their own human condition. Chidy's body of work inhabits the space between the archaic and the contemporary, the intimate and the collective. From this position, he consolidates a practice that connects the force of the ancestral with the forms of the present. Please enjoy this episode of Cerebral Women in Paris, featuring Chidy Wayne. Chidy, welcome to Cerebral Women in Paris. I'm delighted to feature you.
My pleasure, Phyllis.
My first question always is, when did you discover your interest in becoming a visual artist?
I would say that came to me in my early 20s or mid 20s, more or less. Even though since I was a kid, I was always drawing. I was drawing a lot at school. But, I never had a reference. I never had someone to look at and say, oh, that's who I want to be. So for me, the idea of being an artist was always so abstract that I never thought that would be even possible. It was, I don't know, for me, it was just the big names who were artists. I couldn't imagine anything in the middle. So yeah, it was until I was maybe 23, more or less, that I started drawing at school, at the university, and someone saw my drawings. And I just got offered this position to make drawings for this book. And so all of a sudden I was receiving commissions, and almost by chance, I became an illustrator. And from there, I could see for the first time that I was able to offer my personal visual view, let's say from 23 maybe. And so even though I started then to work commercially as an artist, but commercially speaking, because I was working for brands, for advertisement, with my drawings, it took about 10 years until I was able to show my true personal view, my true self, and my personal art. During that time, I was just looking for the theme and the gesture and the technique to show. So let's say that I was using the commercial art or the illustration. I was using it as a playground where I was able to test some techniques and to see what themes and the techniques that I was connected to, until I decided, okay, so now I'm gonna just show my world.
Was there a particular body of work or artist that influenced the direction that you took?
Funny enough, initially, my first teachers, let's say, because I studied fashion design here in Barcelona. So my first encounters with the arts, like practicing the arts, drawing like in a more professional way, was by studying fashion illustrators and by studying their spontaneity and how fast they were able to capture a mood, just a feeling with a few strokes. You know, people like Rene Gros or like Yves Saint Laurent, who's a great artist besides a great designer, or Antonio Lopez, or like big names in fashion illustration. Some of them, I think, they've never been considered in the art world. I guess because of the theme, because maybe for the arts, their theme was not elevated. But technically, I think we could all learn a lot from them. So yeah, they were my first teachers, let's say, and from that I just jumped into many others. But they opened the door for me.
How do you define your practice?
I don't define it myself, you know. I just do it. It's others who define my art, but I would say it's definitely figurative. It should feel both spontaneous, but also meticulously imbalanced and a bit minimalist. I would say it's also powerful in a philosophical way, and both calm and intense based on how you read it. I think it's opened to interpretations. I wouldn't close a painting or a sculpture, so it's not going to be me who will define it. Somewhere else, no, the viewer will finish that circle.
And what materials do you use?
I'm using well, just classical like oils, but I use lots of mediums as well. So I'm influenced by primitivism, and I always thought that I wanted to bring the cave to the canvas. Normally, I use several mediums to create a rough surface that also help me to create beautiful accidents. I wouldn't use a clean white paper or a clean white canvas. Rather, I would create a surface that also plays with alongside with my strokes and creates new strokes and new beautiful accidents. So for that, I may use sand, I may use sawdust, I may use just dust and whatever I find in the studio to create these rough surfaces. That's in paintings. In the sculptures, I've been using iron, I've been using stone, plaster, bronze. I don't like to stick to just one material. Even in the paintings, that's the practice that I do the most. Normally, I don't use the same technique that I've been using in the previous work. I don't want to think as an artisan, every piece the same, measuring everything. I like to approach to the same idea with different materials and techniques, normally trying to reach the same effect, but also open to be surprised by different outcomes.
What inspired you to begin creating sculptures?
Once my practice became solid in terms of the theme, I knew that I opened a gigantic door, and from that day I was able just to represent those ideas in every form possible. So now I'm just not afraid to. It can be shown in every discipline. The beautiful thing about sculpture is when I started, it was the first time that I was actually touching with my hands my artwork. Before that, I had always something between me and the artwork, which would be a pencil, crayon, a brush. There was something magical by touching art, and I just realized that time was just not existing when I was doing sculpture. I cannot say I like it more, but I definitely enjoy it when I'm doing it, and I just cannot help to keep digging more and more materials and ways of expressing what I already do.
Are there thoughts or concepts that connect all your work?
Yeah, the themes that I use are very consistent. I work in the idea of identity, in the idea of going after the question of who I am. Maybe one of the most universal questions that humans have. And that idea of identity, I show it through hands, through these open palms. I do that because I'm in search of my practice when I was working as a commercial artist. The first question was, what do I want to show in a painting? And then I changed radically that question, and I started questioning myself. Okay, but who I am? No, I was talking to the man in the mirror, and I was asking, okay, but who you are? And by asking that, I started to realize that every time that I was having those inner thoughts, the thing that I was seeing about myself was my hands. So somehow my hands started to act as the bridge between the thoughts and reality. So I started to think of the hands as if they were a metaphysical mirror where I was able to recognize myself. Because as I was having those thoughts, the hands were the part of myself that I was looking at. So I define the hands as those mirrors where you can see and interact with yourself, and by doing that, you were questioning and asking who you are. So that's identity, and also I'm talking a lot about the inner conflict, inner fight. As I said, I'm interested in primitivism. So I started depicting fight scenes, fight in terms of as a sport, but also as a way of dealing with yourself. So I was depicting these like Senegalese fights or Greco-Roman fights, fighters, fight scenes. So them with the hands, they became the core of my work. So when you see my work, you mostly see hands and fighters.
And when you're creating, are you thinking about who your audience is and how your work may or may not inspire them?
I cannot think about my audience. I can only think about how I filter those universal questions. It would be impossible for me to think about who's gonna watch it, because then I would feel so judged and with so many questions. And I already have many questions by myself. So imagine if I have to consider all the people. So the short answer is no, and I think that's how it should be.
Do you listen to music while you're working?
Always. I don't know if there's anything more universal and more beautiful than music. So yeah, it's constantly listening to music in my studio. From Prince, who I adore, and he's one of my key figures as a musician and as an artist. So from Prince to house music to jazz music to electronic. I guess as everybody, I'm just trying to connect with the right mood at the right moment. Something that I realized is that it's very different music that I play when I'm sketching or when I'm just looking at books and trying to find some inspiration. That's very different from the music that I use when I'm actually creating. And I found that live music is the type of music that I really connect with in that occasion. I don't know. There's something about people cheering and hearing live music. It's just totally different than music under heavy production. So that's what really makes me vibe in that moment.
When do the titles of your work enter the creative process?
The titles in my work are consistent, so I don't think about them. I have three big series, and I just name and number the paintings. So, for example, the hands series, the name is Ego. Ego means I in Latin. Right now, I think I am in doing like Ego 202. And then there's the Pugna series. That's the fighters. Pugna means fight in Latin. I am now around 180 something or maybe 190. The third one is Pugnator, which means fighter in Latin. I don't remember the number, but yeah, I stick myself to these big themes and I just number them. Naming the paintings is not very important thing in my practice, in my mind. So I just took the easy way of numbering them.
When do you know work is finished?
I'm gonna answer that question with another question. When do you know you love somebody? You just know it. You can keep pushing, you can keep trying to finish the piece, but I don't really trust in finished pieces because you could always be adding a new stroke and a new stroke and a new stroke. And I think you kind of kill the piece when you over finish it. And because I'm a fan of the inner child that we have and the spontaneity, I think you can always finish a piece by extracting a stroke instead of adding a stroke. It's a very important part of the process. I just feel it. There's some magical green light that lights on when I feel it, and I just don't doubt it. And I don't go back to the piece when that green light is on.
Do you feel black art can be defined?
Maybe, but I'm not interested in defining one art, or I just don't divide art by who's doing it. I'm just interested in art in capital letters. I don't mind if it's a man, a woman, black, white. I don't even care about the age. If it's good art, if it's the art that resonates with me, then I'm gonna pay attention to it. I wouldn't pay attention to a piece based on who has done it, besides my own son. If I look at my art books, it's all about artists that I enjoy based on their art, nothing else.
How do you keep learning?
That's a very good question. I keep learning by having my eyes opened because there's a lesson everywhere, in every step. Every time I'm driving, I'm just walking down the street, there's a shadow, there's a crack on the street, there's something that can let you understand how this works live. The obvious way of learning would be studying other artists, but I think there's many lessons outside of the art. I think if you just are able to learn from life, that's also a lesson for the arts.
What are you excited about right now?
I'm excited about meeting new people, about showing in different countries to a bigger audience. In 2 weeks, I'm going to New York for Freeze. I will show there. I will have a solo also in New York with Southern Guild in late October. I'm going to Cape Town to do this beautiful art residency, and that will open the door to meet and learn from new people. I think that's what I'm very excited about because I will create more and more. And by creating more, I will create better, and that will mean that the wheel keeps rolling, and that's what keeps me motivated.
What do you feel is the purpose of art?
Not sure if you can differentiate purpose of art from the purpose of life. Is there any purpose for each of those? That's a tough one. Let me think. I think there's so many purposes. Why should you stick to just one? It can be just to please your eyes, or it can be just to realize about something, or to question something, or to confront you, to make you uncomfortable, so you react. This one would be just to express yourself, but I'm not only expressing myself, I am sharing my thoughts, the thoughts that I think some others can relate to, and I'm letting them enter in that conversation with themselves.
I've really enjoyed our conversation. It was nice to meet you at Art Paris and to see your work. It was just great. So this is going to be the last question. How do you want your work to impact the way people think?
I want my work to be a door for themselves. I think I said it before. If not, that was implied. I'm not talking about myself in those pieces. I'm talking about universal ideas, or classical philosophical ideas like Plato's cave allegory. I'm just offering doors for you to open and explore by yourselves, make it your own. So I guess I'm just trying for people to reflect about themselves while enjoying a beautiful painting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Phyllis.
Thank you for listening to Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast. For additional content, please visit cerebralwomen.com and be sure to follow Cerebral Women on Instagram.